I'm meteorologist Chelsea Ambriz, and we have the latest updates with Tropical Storm Ian. Still a tropical storm. Notice its movement has increased by about 2 miles per hour since this morning. 50-mile-per-hour winds still at its core, and pressure is still holding 1,001 millibars. Notice all of those bright colors. Those are cloud tops where the thunderstorms are. They're already impacting areas like Jamaica and over into the Cayman Islands. So the rain is still going to be ongoing even as this system pulls off to the north and eventually works its way to the west. We do have hurricane warnings and tropical storm warnings that have been issued for Cuba, so an upgrade to those watches. And notice, as we continue to work this system to the north and west over the next 24 to 36 hours, very quickly overnight likely to strengthen to a Category 1 hurricane, then holding its Category 2 and ultimately major hurricane status as it makes a landfall potentially in far western Cuba. Now, some of the updates with this, yes, it's still likely to get to a Cat 4 as we get into Wednesday morning with winds up to 130 miles per hour. But with the latest track, notice by Thursday morning, there could be some weakening. Barely, we're talking 130 to 110, but between Wednesday and Thursday morning. So slight weakening as it potentially makes a landfall in the Big Bend of Florida. But again, notice that cone. Notice how widespread that cone is. Really, the northern and western parts of Florida will be dealing with that chance to see this storm wiggle over the next couple of days. So high confidence that it's still going to take that westerly track, but as it gets closer to Florida, there is still the possibility that maybe it moves a little bit closer to Tampa. Maybe it moves a little bit closer to Apalachicola or back out towards far western parts in the Panhandle. So this is still likely to change just a bit. But by Friday, as it interacts with the land, it will weaken just a bit. So let's talk forecast details. Notice these are all of our models. Again, they all agree for the most part where it goes as it works past Cuba. They don't necessarily all agree on where that landfall could be. And that's when we're really going to be watching this storm, because for South Florida, if that system moves farther to the east, we'll have more impacts. If that system moves farther to the west, improving impacts for us. But regardless, current track still gives us about 2 to 4 inches of rainfall in South Florida. Isolated spots, especially down into the Keys, could get up to 6 inches. Where the strongest of the wind, the heaviest of the rain, out into far western parts of Cuba. 4 to 8 inches. Isolated spots could see 12. There could be some flooding concerns and mudslide concerns in the higher terrained areas. When it comes to tropical storm force winds, South Florida still has a chance to get in on that. Now, the bulk of the action and all of the intense wind will be closer to that center of circulation, which again is farther away from South Florida. But there's still about a 15% chance or so that we get in on some gusty winds, maybe embedded within some of those outer rain bands. We're also watching hurricane force wind gusts that, again, much more localized, but do still expand out from the center of circulation. And at this point, South Florida really not anticipating much when it comes to the hurricane force winds. But it's really going to be the rain and maybe some gusty winds that we'll have to watch out for. Speaking of rain, there could be that chance for some flooding really starting to take over by Tuesday. This is the excessive rainfall outlook. It's a level 2 on a scale 1 to 4. So heavy downpours in areas that are prone to flooding could see some flash flooding concerns Tuesday, and any standing water into Wednesday could also produce some of those concerns. Let's time things out for you though. We do have a chance to see some thunderstorms today. That's going to be on the low end of everything that we'll see over the next few days. As we take this forecast into Monday, we start to build in some of those far northern and outer rain bands into areas of South Florida. The Keys could start to see some of those isolated downpours into the early morning hours. Notice by Monday afternoon, we start to see a lot more of that widespread rain. And this is where we're watching not only the flooding concerns, but the possibility for maybe some water spouts or tornadoes to try and work through. There's going to be that natural spin in the atmosphere. And so as this system starts to cross from Cuba and into the Gulf, we'll have that potential to see some of these isolated storms really try to spin. But notice the bulk of the action stays just to our west. So South Florida, we're looking at that chance for storms to stick around really into Wednesday. Check out our extended forecast. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday are active days. Thursday, Friday still could be dealing with some of that tropical moisture, but it starts to break up as we head into next weekend.